as we are going to discuss about how we have done the force velocity profiling with the help of MyJump app. So basically, the introduction of the assessment. So the force velocity profiling is an assessment used by various sports science professionals to see the athletic qualities by various loads. So what we do in the force velocity profiling is we load the athlete with the different weights and see how he's able to use the force that he has developed during training, or he's using velocity that he has developed during his training, and which aspect is using these two things. So we load different according to the needs and demands of the sports. So as you can see, I have loaded the athlete with the different weights. Say for example, with the body weight, we started with the body weight, then 20 kilograms, then 30 kilograms, and 40 kilograms to see the different response from the athlete. So the assessment tests an athlete's ability to produce force differently. Now, when we talk about the rationale behind this profiling is why we do it, how we do it, and what is the requirement of doing it. Because anything which we do in the field of performance training is basically dependent on the context rather than what is there. So it is basically about the context rather than the actual thing. So to see the current status of the athlete with regards to strength, power, speed, and conditioning. So these are the various biomotor abilities which we test. That is strength, power, speed, and conditioning. So what happens is when an athlete comes in a training center or wherever he wants to train, the biomotor abilities in his sports, that is the requirement, that is all about strength, power, speed, and his conditioning. We have a correct measure of his when we do his profiling. So if we have the correct measurement of his profiling, we don't guess that. We have the assessment, we have the exact numbers where we can work upon it. The next thing is to understand what are his key areas of his own strength and his weakness. Previous slide. So yeah, to understand what are his key areas of his own strength and weakness, and design the program according to that. So what we do is we understand his key strength and weaknesses by assessing his fitness, by assessing with the different fitness tests, and we program accordingly to his strength, and we also want to improve his weaknesses at the same point of time. So force velocity profiling determines our loading patterns and volume in the programming. So what does the force velocity curve does is when we profile an athlete with the force velocity, like we have done in this with this athlete, is it helps our it helps us to understand the loading pattern, how we are going to load him in the training, because the volume and intensity of any program is totally dependent upon the current status of his fitness. So what we have done is we have understood his force velocity profile and load. We are going to load him appropriately during this program. Next. So uh, we have talked about up till now about the force velocity, but it will be of no use if we don't understand the sports and the athlete. So understanding the athlete and the sport is the major thing while applying any tool into the field of performance coaching. So as we can see, cricket is an intermittent sport which demands short bursts of energy frequently, uh, costing body a lot of metabolic and neural requirements. So what cricket does is cricket is an intermittent sport. The performance of cricket solely depends upon 5 seconds to 7 seconds. So all the performance which we do on the field of cricket is just about 5 to 7 seconds, and the majority of them are under 5 seconds. So the metabolic, that is the cost, the energy production, and the lactic development that happens during and the neural requirement, the ability to produce force at the quicker speed, is a lot during the game. So athlete has been not the athlete which I have tested has not been recently exposed towards the force curve due to the matches. He was constantly pushed towards the velocity. So as he was playing the matches, he was playing a lot of T20 cricket. So because of that, he was exposed to a lot of velocity work. Means he used to sprint a lot during the game. He used to change his directions a lot. He has a lot of agility requirement for the sports. All this thing has caused him to move towards the velocity side of the continuum rather than the force curve. So he lacked the force exposure during the sports, but he got a lot of velocity work during the sports. So that's why he was good in the velocity side of it, but he lacked the force because of the lack of exposure. And the last thing is cricket is unilateral in nature in terms of movement, costing a lot of bilateral deficit of an athlete. So as he was playing his sports, he was around a month there, playing a lot of matches. So due to that, he has got a lot of bilateral deficit because the game of cricket demands something called the unilateral continuum of his movement. That's why he was getting a lot of bilateral deficit because of playing cricket itself. Next. So, the methods which we have used while using this test was the leg length, which we have taken the greater trochanter of the femur in the supine position and the plantar flexion of the foot. The leg length at 90 degree, which was again the greater trochanter of the femur to the feet on the ground at knee flexed at 90 degree, where he's going to jump. Jump performed was a squat jump. App used was my jump 2, and the load which we have used was body weight 20 kilograms, 30 kilograms, and 40 kilograms. Rest was given around 120 seconds, that is approximately 2 minutes, so that he can use his ATP PC system back again, which requires around 2 to 3 minutes of recovery. Next. So here is the result. As you can see, the result is in front of us. There are four things which I have considered. The first is the weight, second one is the jump height, third is the power output, fourth one is force, and the fifth one is velocity. So as you can see with the body weight, he jumped around 27.55 centimeters. His power during this getting this result was 1829.66 watts. His force was around 1573 newtons, and his velocity was 116 meter per second. So that was the first one. The second one, when he jumped the same distance, that is 27.55, as he was loading with the barbell, he has utilized that force, that is 2406. So he's increased his force. His body was able to cope with that load, and the body responded with increment in his force. At the same time, the increment in his power, and he maintained his velocity. So due to all these factors, he was able to jump the same height back again, as he was applying the more force and power, but maintaining his speed. That is the velocity of the jump. So till here it was constant, but after that there was a gradual and constant decrease in his jump. As you can see in the 30 kilograms, he jumped around 16.97, which is approximately 11 centimeters less. So while the demand of the load was about to was about to increase his 23, but he was not able to do so, as he has done in the second one, that was 2406. So in the third one, he was just able to produce 1623. That cost him in the decrement of his jump, that is around 16.97. In the fourth one, it was 13.35. Again, he was not able to produce more force, which was the requirement as he was loaded, but his body was lacking the strength, and he was not able to produce that force. This costing him the loss of 3 to 4 centimeters from the previous jump. Whereas he also lost his velocity. As you can see, it declined gradually from 1.16 to 0.91 and then 0.81. Next. So the results clearly indicates that as the load of the barbell increased, their jump height decreased. So as the I loaded him with the barbell, and the jump height was increased gradually, and then it started at a very rapid pace. The load in the barbell didn't facilitate the athlete to apply more force. So the load in the barbell was requiring him to produce more force to overcome the inertia of the barbell, but he wasn't able to do because he was lacking the force. The third one is the athlete is force deficient, as his limited ability to apply force with greater load was the determining factor for his decreased flight time. So the determining factor of his loss of jump was the force output that he wasn't able to produce during the jump. Next. So this is the programming for the 4 weeks. What I've done is I have used the conjugate method of block periodization. What does it means is in this block I'm going to work upon his strength and maintain his conditioning and other biomotor abilities which are the requirement of the sports. but I'm going to dominate towards the strength and power side, so that he can improve that, and we can at the end of at the end of the 2 to 3 blocks, he will be able to accumulate all those factors, all those biomotor ability, which I'm going to work isolately, and that will produce performance during the season. So on Monday, we are going to focus on max strength, and the method used will be contrast. On Tuesday, just because he was nearly fatigued on Monday, we are going to go with the lower intensity on Tuesday with tempo runs, which we can call as active recovery day. On Wednesday, we are going to facilitate the movement work, which is the demand of the sport, and we are going to expose him towards the planes and motion of the sports. On Thursday, it will be power and strength speed, so that will be again a neural day for him, but there has been the gap of around 72 hours of micro recovery that will help him to produce force and power again. This on the ground, which will be costing more on the ground contact, which will be costing more towards the ground contact time and the elastic component of the strength. Friday will be about the prehab. It will be injury prevention and focusing more on the recovery. Saturday again will be the only one conditioning session which I have is on the Saturday, that will consist of a mass based on his yo-yo score and 2 kilometers time, which is around 4.5 meter, 5.0 meter per second. That is the starting point, and we are going to progress it with 5.5 and 6.0 if athlete responds on this. Next. So rationally behind programming. So what I have done in this programming was I have seen his current training status, fitness testing results. So current training status means what was his he was training before coming, what he was exposed to. That will underpin the current training status. The second will be the fitness testing result, which I have taken, such as vertical jump, standing long jump, and 10, 20, 30 meters, as well as the force velocity curve. The third one is very important. That is mobility checklist. How his joints are mobile. There is any deficit in his mobility or not. The biomotor abilities to be prioritized. That means which biomotor ability I'm going to prioritize in which block. That is the main going to be the main component in the program design. The fifth one will be the injury history and medical history. So does he have any injury history or any medical history previously? So that will also be considered while making the program. The next thing will be supplementation. Is he using any supplementation or not? And what supplementation is good for him or what is not good for him will be determined based on his blood work. So the blood work will determine the supplementation. The next thing which I considered is the stresses, the physical stress, thermal, mental, chemical, electromagnetic, and nutritional. So all these things such as physical stress, which is apart from playing cricket, the other stresses which comes to the physical body, the thermal, the mental stresses, the chemical, and electromagnetic means the screen time and the time which we spend on the mobile. The last one is the nutritional, which means the whether his nutritional value are fulfilling or complementing the program which he has. If he isn't able to fulfill those things, he will have to pay the price. So that will be considered in the program. The last thing which is very important again is the cost of skill and matches. So the training program should complement the skill, not the other way around, because skill is going to be the most prioritized thing as a cricketer. So I'll consider skill as the first priority, and the fitness will complement on it rather than fitness complementing the skills. Yeah. Next. So the concluding thoughts which I have got is the profiling of an athlete should enable better programs if done considering the needs, demands of the sports and knowing the type of athlete, which is very important. Micro recoveries and tapering should be applied appropriately to facilitate regeneration and restoration for athletes. Micro recoveries that the athlete should be able to recover throughout the week. It should not be about just loading throughout the week. It should be loading and then understanding when to deload, when to taper, when to give the micro recoveries in between the week. Last thing will be the knowing the motor type of an athlete plays a vital role in deciding the recoveries. Understanding the athlete's motor type, that is how athlete is either towards the force side or towards the speed side, or he's elastic in nature or he's force driven in nature, will also decide the recovery. So say some fast twitch fibers athletes which are explosive in nature needs more recovery than the athlete who are based on the endurance as a type 1 fiber. So all these things will be considered in the program. And so any question regarding the whole program and